My name's Rachel, and I'm 34. Picture this, my parents' 35th anniversary party in their suburban backyard. Twinkling lights, grilled burgers, sizzling mom's favorite jazz tune floating through the air. I'm sipping wine, watching my daughter Lily giggle with her cousins, feeling this rare warmth, like everything's finally right. My parents sway together, smiling like newlyweds. Then Lily, my fierce 12-year-old, grabs my arm. Her face is pale, voice shaky. We need to go. Now. My stomach drops. What's happening? Have you ever had a moment turn your world upside down? I'd love to know where you're watching from. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's unpack this together. I tugged Lily's hand, gently leading her away from the pulsing heart of the party, where laughter and clinking glasses filled the air. My heart was still racing from her urgent whisper, and the backyard now felt too bright, too loud. We slipped past the string lights toward the shadow of the garage, where the hum of conversation faded. My sandals crunched on the gravel, and I crouched to meet her eyes. "Sweetheart, what's going on?" I asked, keeping my voice steady despite the knot in my chest. Lily's gaze darted back toward the crowd, her fingers twisting the hem of her blue dress. I heard something she said barely above a whisper. "I'll tell you in the car." "Please, Mom, can we just go?" Her words were clipped, her usual spark dimmed by something heavy. I wanted to press her to understand why my confident girl looked so rattled, but her wide eyes stopped me. I nodded, brushing a strand of her hair back. "Okay, let me grab our things." As I straightened, I caught sight of my sister Amanda across the lawn. She was leaning close to her husband Greg, her perfectly manicured hand on his arm. Their heads were bent together, and Amanda's eyes flicked toward me for a split second before she turned away, her lips moving fast. Greg nodded, his jaw tight, and they both glanced my way again. My stomach twisted. Amanda had always been the polished one, the sister who made my life as a single mom feel small with her sharp little comments. But this felt different, like they were guarding something. I took a step toward the house to grab my purse, Lily trailing close behind, when my brother Ethan appeared, a wide grin plastered on his face. "Rachel, you're not sneaking off already, are you?" He called, his voice too loud, too bright. He slung an arm around my shoulders, steering me back toward the party. "Come on, Mom and Dad are about to cut the cake." His cologne was strong and his grip was firmer than usual, like he was trying to keep me in place. "Ethan, I just need a minute," I said, trying to wiggle free without making a scene. But his grin didn't falter, and his eyes didn't meet mine. "Nonsense. You can't miss this," he insisted, guiding me toward the dessert table. Lily hung back, her arms crossed, watching Ethan like he was a stranger. I'd always thought of Ethan as my ally, the sibling who got me, but tonight his cheer felt like a mask. As we reached the table, I overheard Greg's voice, low and sharp, talking to Amanda nearby. "She's got no clue, does she?" he said, chuckling. Amanda shushed him, but her smirk was unmistakable. My face burned. Were they talking about me? I wanted to march over and demand answers, but Lily's hand slipped into mine, her fingers cold. "Mom, please," she whispered again, and I felt her trembling. I forced a smile for Ethan's sake, mumbling something about needing to check on Lily, and pulled her toward the house. My mind was spinning. Amanda's secretive glances, Ethan's forced enthusiasm, Greg's snide remark. It was all wrong. I thought back to when we were kids, how Amanda always seemed to know things I didn't like, why Mom and Dad fought behind closed doors, or why we never went on vacations like other families. Back then, I'd shrug it off, assuming it was just her need to feel superior. But now, with Lily so shaken, those memories felt like warnings I'd ignored. Inside the house, the cool air hit my skin, and I grabbed my purse from the kitchen counter. The party's noise was muffled here, but my thoughts were loud. What had Lily heard? Why was my family acting like I was the odd one out? I looked at her, hoping for a clue, but she just stared at the floor, her jaw tight. My chest ached with a mix of fear and frustration. This was supposed to be a night of celebration, a rare moment of family harmony. Instead, I felt like I was standing on the edge of something I couldn't see, something that might break me if I fell. As I clutched my purse, the kitchen's fluorescent light felt too harsh, casting shadows on Lily's tense face. I wanted to leave to escape whatever was unraveling, but something held me back. Maybe it was stubbornness, or maybe I needed to prove I wasn't imagining things. "Stay here for a sec," I told Lily, squeezing her shoulder. She nodded, but her eyes begged me not to linger. I stepped toward the sliding glass door, peering out at the party, searching for answers in the crowd. The backyard was a blur of motion guests, chatting kids, chasing fireflies, my parents mingling with forced smiles. Then I spotted Amanda again, now by the drink table, her laughter sharp as she leaned into a conversation with a woman I vaguely recognized. It was Paula, a family friend who'd always been too nosy for my liking. Paula's eyes met mine through the glass, and her smile faltered before she turned away, whispering something to Amanda. My skin prickled. What was that about? I pushed the door open, the warm night air hitting me as I stepped onto the patio. The music was louder here, a jazzy tune that clashed with my churning thoughts. I weaved through clusters of guests, their conversations a dull roar in my ears. When I reached Amanda, she was pouring herself a glass of wine, her movements deliberate, like she was putting on a show. "Hey, can we talk?" I asked, keeping my voice low but firm. Amanda barely glanced at me, swirling her wine. "Rachel, you're being dramatic. It's a party. Relax." Her tone was icy, the kind she used when she wanted to shut me down. Paula hovered nearby, pretending to adjust a napkin stack, but I could feel her listening. "I'm not being dramatic," I said, my voice rising despite myself. "Lily's upset and you and Greg are acting weird. What's going on?" She sighed, setting her glass down with a clink. "Nothing's going on. You're just looking for problems as usual." Her words stung, slicing into old wounds from years of her subtle jabs. I opened my mouth to argue, but Paula cut in, her voice syrupy. "Rachel, dear, you should enjoy the night. Your parents worked hard for this." Her smile was tight, and the way she said "worked hard" felt loaded, like a hint I wasn't supposed to catch. I clenched my fists, frustration bubbling. "If it's nothing, why's everyone whispering behind my back?" I pressed, glancing between them. Amanda rolled her eyes, but Paula's expression flickered a flash of unease before she recovered. "You're misreading things," Paula said, patting my arm. Her touch felt patronizing, and I pulled away, my pulse hammering. They were hiding something, and the more they dodged, the more I felt like a fool for trusting this night. I turned to head back to Lily, my thoughts a tangle of doubt and anger, when Ethan appeared again, this time with a plate of cake, his grin still too wide. "Rachel, you gotta try this," he said, thrusting the plate at me. His cheer was jarring, like he was desperate to keep the mood light. "Ethan, stop," I snapped louder than I meant. A few heads turned and Ethan's smile wavered. "What's your deal?" he muttered, lowering the plate. "You're acting like we're all against you." His words hit like a punch. Was I paranoid? Or was he part of whatever Amanda and Paula were covering up? I thought of Lily waiting inside, her fear so real it had shaken me to my core. "Maybe you are," I said quietly, my voice trembling. Ethan's eyes widened, but he didn't respond, just stood there as I walked away. The party's glow felt like a lie now, every laugh and clink of glass mocking my growing unease. Back in the kitchen, Lily was pacing her sneakers, scuffing the linoleum. "Did you find out anything?" she asked, her voice small but urgent. I shook my head, my throat tight. "Not yet, but something's off." I grabbed her hand, ready to leave, when I caught a glimpse of my dad, Robert, through the window. He was slipping into his study, a folder tucked under his arm, his face drawn. My heart sank. That folder, why did it feel like the key to everything I needed to know, even if it broke me? The sight of my dad slipping into his study with that folder burned in my mind like a puzzle piece I couldn't place. I squeezed Lily's hand, her palm clammy against mine, and whispered, "Wait here. Okay, I'll be right back." Her eyes widened, but she nodded, sinking onto a kitchen stool, her shoulders hunched. My legs felt heavy as I moved toward the hallway, the party's chatter fading behind me. Every step echoed with a question: what were they hiding from me? The hallway was dim, lined with old family photos that usually warmed my heart. Tonight they felt like strangers' faces. I passed a picture of me and Amanda at a county fair, her arm around me, both of us grinning. Had she always been this good at pretending? I shook off the thought and reached the study door, slightly ajar. My hand hovered over the knob, my breath shallow. I wasn't a snoop, but Lily's fear and Amanda's lies had pushed me past caring. Before I could decide, voices drifted from the backyard, sharp and urgent. I froze, recognizing my mom's clipped tone. I crept to the nearby window, peering through the blinds. Diane was standing near the rose garden with Paula, their heads close, oblivious to the guests milling nearby. "We'll settle it tonight," Diane said, her voice low but firm. "It's the only way to move forward." Paula nodded, her lips pursed. "Just make sure Rachel doesn't stir things up. She's always been difficult." My chest tightened like someone had squeezed the air out of me. Difficult. I'd spent my life trying to please them, smoothing over their fights, being the daughter who never asked for much. I leaned closer, straining to hear more when Lily's voice hissed behind me. "Mom, what are you doing?" I spun around, my finger to my lips, but her face was pale, her eyes darting toward the study. "They're lying to you," she whispered, stepping closer. "I heard Amanda tell Greg they're doing something big and you're not supposed to know." Her words hit like a slap. I pulled her into a hug, my mind racing. "What exactly did you hear, sweetheart?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. She bit her lip, glancing at the door. "Amanda said you don't deserve it, whatever it is. That you're fine without it." My throat burned. Amanda had always acted superior, but this was different, calculated, cruel. I wanted to storm out and confront her, but the folder in Dad's study nagged at me. I needed proof. I led Lily back to the kitchen, my resolve hardening. "Stay here," I said again, hating how small she looked. I slipped into the study, closing the door softly. The room smelled of old books and Dad's aftershave, a comfort that now felt hollow. His desk was cluttered with papers, but the folder was gone. My heart sank. Had he hidden it? I scanned the shelves, my hands trembling when the door creaked open. Ethan stood there, his fake grin gone, replaced by a frown. "Rachel, what the hell are you doing in here?" His tone was sharp, not the laid-back brother I knew. I straightened, my pulse hammering. "Why's everyone acting like I'm the enemy?" I shot back, stepping toward him. "What's in that folder Dad was carrying?" Ethan's jaw tightened, and for a second I thought he'd answer. Then he shook his head, his voice low. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. Just go back to the party." He turned to leave, but his words lit a fire in me. "Harder for who, Ethan?" "What are you all hiding?" He paused, his hand on the doorknob, but didn't look back. "You're ruining their night," he muttered, then walked out. The door clicked shut, and I stood there, my breath ragged. Ruining their night. I'd come here to celebrate, to be part of this family, and now I felt like an intruder in my own home. Amanda's words, Paula's smugness, Ethan's betrayal, they were all closing in, and I was suffocating under the weight of it. The silence in the study was deafening after Ethan walked out, his words echoing like a slap. I stood frozen, my hands clenched the air, thick with the sting of his accusation. Ruining their night. My chest heaved and I wanted to scream, to tear through the polished facade of this party and demand the truth. But the weight of it all, Lily's fear, Amanda's secrecy, now Ethan's coldness, pinned me in place like I was sinking in quicksand. I forced myself to move, stepping out of the study and back into the hallway. The family photos on the walls mocked me now, each smile a reminder of a bond I thought was real. I needed to find Lily to get us out of here, but my feet carried me toward the backyard, instead drawn to the voices that had unraveled my night. The party was in full swing, the crowd oblivious to the storm inside me. I scanned the lawn, my eyes landing on my mom, Diane, still near the rose garden, now alone adjusting a string of lights with practiced calm. I marched toward her, my pulse pounding in my ears. The grass was soft under my sandals, but every step felt like wading through mud. "Mom?" I said, my voice sharper than I intended. She turned her smile tight, like she'd been expecting me. "Rachel, you're missing the fun," she said, her tone light, but her eyes guarded. Fun, the word felt like a blade cutting through the last shred of my patience. "What's really going on tonight?" I asked, stepping closer, my hands trembling at my sides. "I heard you talking to Paula about settling things. What are you keeping from me?" Her smile faltered, and for a split second I saw something guilt maybe or fear flash across her face. But then she straightened, brushing her hands on her skirt. "You're reading too much into things, sweetheart," she said, her voice syrupy. "This is just a party. Can't you enjoy it?" Her dismissal hit me like a punch to the gut. I'd heard that tone before when I was a kid, asking why she and Dad were fighting or why Amanda got new clothes and I didn't. Always brushed off, always told to stop asking. "Don't lie to me," I said, my voice cracking. Lily heard Amanda say, "I don't deserve something." "What is it, Mom? What are you all planning?" Diane's eyes narrowed and she stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You need to calm down, Rachel. You're making a scene." Her words were ice and I felt the ground shift beneath me. A scene I wasn't the one whispering secrets, hiding folders, turning my own daughter against me. I opened my mouth to argue, but a hand grabbed my arm. "Amanda," her nails digging into my skin. "Rachel, enough," she hissed, pulling me away from Mom. "You're embarrassing yourself." I yanked my arm free, my face burning. Embarrassing myself, I snapped loud enough that a few guests nearby turned to stare. "You're the one scheming with Greg and Paula, acting like I'm invisible in my own family." Amanda's lips curled into a smirk, but her eyes were cold, calculating. "You've always been so sensitive," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "Maybe if you paid attention, you'd understand what's at stake." Her words were a knife twisting deep. Understand what I wanted to grab her to shake the truth out of her, but the crowd's eyes were on us now, their murmurs a low hum. I felt exposed like a child caught misbehaving, but I wasn't the one in the wrong. I turned back to Diane, hoping for something, regret, an explanation, but she was already walking away, joining a group of guests, her laughter forced and bright. I stood there, my breath shallow, the party spinning around me. The twinkling lights blurred, the music grated, and every smile felt like a betrayal. Amanda's smirk, Diane's dismissal, Ethan's silence. They were all in on it, whatever it was, and I was the outsider. My heart ached for Lily, waiting in the kitchen, probably terrified. I'd come here to celebrate my parents, to feel like part of this family, but now I felt like I'd never belonged at all. And that folder, Dad's tense face as he hid it, loomed larger, a secret I had to uncover, no matter how much it hurt. I stumbled back toward the kitchen, my legs shaky. Amanda's smirk and Diane's cold dismissal clawing at my heart. The party's laughter felt like a distant echo, mocking the fracture inside me. Lily was still by the counter, her eyes wide with worry. "Mom, are you okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. I forced a nod, but my throat was tight. My mind locked on that folder Dad had carried. I had to know what it held, even if it shattered me. "Stay close," I whispered, taking her hand. We slipped down the hallway again, the air cooler now heavy with the scent of polished wood. The study door was closed, but light seeped from under it. My pulse thundered as I turned the knob, easing it open. The room was empty. Dad's chair pushed in neatly, but the desk was a mess, pens scattered, a coffee mug teetering. And there, half buried under a stack of bills, was the folder. I glanced at Lily, her grip tightening on my hand, and pulled the folder free. My fingers shook as I opened it, the paper crinkling too loudly in the quiet. Inside was a legal document thick with text, the words, "Property transfer," bold at the top. My eyes scanned the page, catching phrases like family residence and final sale. My stomach dropped. They were selling the house, the home I'd grown up in, where I'd carved my initials into the attic beam where Lily had taken her first steps during summer visits. I flipped to the next page, a revised will, and my breath caught. My name was nowhere. Amanda's was there, Ethan's too listed as beneficiaries, but mine was erased like I'd never existed. A handwritten note in Dad's scrawl read, "Rachel's stable. She doesn't need this. Stable." I'd clawed my way through years as a single mom, scraping by, never asking them for a dime. And this was my reward. Lily tugged my sleeve, her voice a whisper. "Mom, that's what I heard. Amanda told Greg they're cutting you out because you're fine on your own." Her words were a knife slicing deeper than the document in my hands. I sank into Dad's chair, the folder slipping onto the desk. My family had planned this, used the party as a cover to finalize it all, while I smiled like a fool thinking we were celebrating love. The door creaked and I looked up expecting Dad. It was Paula, her eyes narrowing as she stepped inside. "Rachel, you shouldn't be in here," she said, her voice clipped, but there was a nervous edge to it. I stood clutching the folder, my anger flaring. "Why not?" "So I wouldn't find out you're all selling my childhood home and leaving me with nothing." Paula's face paled, but she recovered quickly, folding her arms. "It's not like that. Your parents are doing what's best for everyone." "Everyone except me." I snapped, my voice shaking. I held up the folder, my hands trembling. "You're in on this, aren't you?" "What do you get out of it, Paula?" Her lips parted, but no words came. Then I saw it, a sticky note on the folder's edge. Her name and a dollar amount, a commission for facilitating the sale. My heart pounded. She wasn't just a family friend. She was profiting off my family's betrayal. Lily stepped forward, her small frame rigid. "You're all liars," she said, her voice fierce despite the tears in her eyes. Paula flinched, but I felt a surge of pride for my daughter even as my world crumbled. The study's walls seemed to close in the weight of the truth suffocating. My parents. Amanda, Ethan, Paula, they'd orchestrated this behind my back, and I'd walked right into their trap believing we were a family. Paula's silence was deafening, her eyes darting to the folder in my hand like it was a bomb about to go off. The study's air felt thick, pressing against my chest as I stared her down. Lily's words hung between us, her accusation raw and unshakable. I wanted to scream, to demand why my family thought I deserved this, but my voice caught trapped by the ache in my throat. The door swung open and there was Diane, her face a mask of calm that cracked when she saw the folder. "Rachel, put that down," she said, her voice low, almost pleading. She stepped inside, closing the door behind her, shutting out the party's distant hum. Paula shifted her hands, fidgeting, but Diane's eyes were locked on me, sharp and unyielding. "You're blowing this out of proportion," she added, but the tremor in her tone betrayed her. I clutched the folder tighter, my knuckles white. "Blowing it out of proportion," I said, my voice rising unsteady. "You're selling our home, rewriting me out of our family, and you think I'm the problem." Lily pressed against my side, her breath quick, and I felt her fear fueling my own. Diane's gaze flicked to her, then back to me, her lips thinning. "You don't understand," she said, stepping closer. Her hands clasped like she was trying to hold herself together. "We made choices for the family's future. You've always been so independent, Rachel. You don't need this house, this burden." Her words were a twisted echo of Dad's note, and they cut deeper than I thought possible. Independent. I'd fought for every scrap of stability, and now they were using it against me. Paula cleared her throat, her voice oily. "Let's all calm down. This isn't the place for this." She reached for the folder, but I jerked it back, my anger flaring. "Don't touch it." I snapped, my voice loud enough to make her flinch. Diane's eyes widened, and for the first time I saw panic in her face. "Rachel, stop it," she said, her voice sharp now. "You're acting like a child. This is bigger than you. Bigger than me." The words echoed, each one a fresh wound. I opened the folder again, my hands shaking, and found another page. A letter from Amanda, typed and signed, addressed to my parents. My eyes scanned it, and my heart stopped. She'd written that I was unreliable, that my choices as a mother made me unfit for any inheritance. She cited my divorce, my modest job, even Lily's undisciplined behavior as proof. Lily, who was standing right here, her eyes brimming with tears as she read over my shoulder. "Mom, is that true?" Lily whispered, her voice breaking. I pulled her close, my own tears burning. "No, sweetheart," I said, my voice hoarse. "It's not true." But the letter's venom seeped into me. Amanda's betrayal laid bare in cold ink. She'd taken every vulnerability I'd ever shared, late nights worrying about bills, my fears for Lily, and weaponized them. Diane didn't move, didn't speak, her silence confirming she'd known, maybe even agreed. I looked up, my vision blurred, and saw Dad in the doorway, his face ashen. "Rachel," he started, but I cut him off, my voice raw. "Did you read this? Did you let her say this about me, about my daughter?" He opened his mouth, but no words came, his hands hanging limp at his sides. The man who'd taught me to ride a bike, who'd called me his rock, stood there complicit. The room spun the folder heavy in my hands, a testament to how little I meant to them. I felt Lily's arms around me, her sobs muffled against my shirt, and the weight of it all crashed down. My family had gathered tonight not to celebrate, but to erase me, to rewrite our history, while I smiled at their lies. The study's walls seemed to pulse, trapping me in this moment of raw, unrelenting pain with no way out. Lily's sobs against my chest were the only sound in the study, a tether keeping me from falling apart. The folder lay open on the desk, Amanda's letter glaring up at me, its words branding me as unworthy. Diane stood rigid, her eyes avoiding mine, while Dad's silence was a weight I couldn't bear. Paula hovered near the door, her nervous fidgeting a stark contrast to her earlier smugness. The air was suffocating, but something shifted inside me, a spark small but fierce, refusing to let this be the end. I wiped my tears, steadying my breath, and knelt to face Lily. "We're going to be okay," I whispered, brushing her cheek. Her eyes searched mine, and she nodded, her trust fueling my resolve. I stood gripping the folder and turned to Diane. "This stops now," I said, my voice low but firm, cutting through the tension. "I'm not invisible, and I'm not letting you rewrite me out of this family." Diane's lips parted, but I didn't wait for her excuses. I pushed past Paula Lily's hand in mine and strode back toward the backyard. The party's noise hit me like a wave, clinking glasses, bursts of laughter, the band's upbeat tune, but it couldn't drown out the fire in my chest. I scanned the crowd, spotting Amanda near the center, holding court with Greg and a cluster of guests. Her smile was perfect, practiced, but I saw the cracks now, the calculation behind it. I moved toward the makeshift stage where the band was setting up for the toast, my heart pounding, but my steps sure. Lily stayed close, her presence a reminder of why I couldn't back down. The microphone sat unattended and I grabbed it, the cool metal grounding me. I tapped it, the feedback squealing, drawing every eye. The music faltered, conversations hushed, and Amanda's head snapped toward me, her smile freezing. "Everyone." "I need your attention," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. Faces turned, some curious, others confused. I held up the folder, its weight a symbol of their betrayal. Tonight was supposed to be about my parents' love, their 35 years together. But I just found out it's also about something else, a plan to sell our family home and cut me out of it like I don't belong. Gasps rippled through the crowd, and Amanda's face flushed, her eyes darting to Greg. I kept going, my voice growing stronger. "I found a letter from my sister Amanda saying I'm unfit, unreliable, a bad mother. My parents knew. They let it happen." I paused, my throat tight, but I forced the words out. "I've spent my life trying to hold this family together, but tonight I'm done being the one who stays quiet." The crowd murmured, some guests shifting uncomfortably, others staring at Diane and Dad, who'd followed me out, their faces pale. Amanda pushed through the throng, her heels clicking. "Rachel, stop this," she hissed, reaching for the microphone. I stepped back, holding it firm. "No, Amanda. You don't get to silence me anymore." Her eyes flashed with anger, but I saw fear there too, and it lit something in me, a strength I hadn't known I had. A voice broke through the tension, soft but clear. "She's telling the truth." It was Clara, our neighbor, stepping forward from the edge of the crowd. Her gray hair caught the light, her expression heavy with guilt. "I knew about the sale," she said, her voice trembling. "I didn't say anything, and I should have. Rachel deserves better." Her words were a lifeline anchoring me as the crowd's murmurs grew louder, some nodding, others whispering. I looked at Lily, her eyes shining with pride, and felt a surge of courage. I wasn't alone, not anymore. The folder in my hand was no longer just proof of their betrayal, it was my weapon, my voice. I turned back to the crowd, my heart racing but my resolve unbreakable, ready to finish what I'd started. Clara's voice hung in the air, her confession slicing through the crowd's murmurs like a blade through fog. I stood on the stage, the microphone heavy in my hand, Lily's small frame pressed against my side. Amanda's face twisted, her eyes darting between me and the guests, her control slipping. For the first time, I saw her not as the untouchable sister, but as someone scrambling to hold her lies together. The folder in my other hand felt like a shield, and I wasn't backing down. I raised the microphone again, my voice steadier now, each word deliberate. "This isn't just about a house," I said, scanning the faces before me. Neighbors, cousins, old friends, all watching, some with pity, others with shock. It's about trust. I thought we were a family, that we showed up for each other. But tonight, I learned my parents and my sister decided I'm not worth that. They wrote me off, and they thought I'd just take it. A low murmur rippled through the crowd, and I caught Greg shoving his way toward Amanda, his jaw clenched. He whispered something, but she shook her head, her hands balled into fists. Diane stepped forward, her face pale but composed, raising a hand as if to calm the tension. "Rachel, this is a misunderstanding," she said, her voice loud enough to carry. "Let's talk privately. You're upsetting everyone." "Upsetting everyone," I said, my voice sharp but controlled, cutting through her attempt to smooth things over. "You planned this behind my back, Mom. You let Amanda write lies about me, about my daughter. You don't get to play the victim now." The crowd's whispers grew louder, and I saw a few guests step back, their discomfort palpable. Diane's lips trembled, but she didn't respond, her silence louder than any excuse. I turned to Amanda, who was glaring at me, her arms crossed tightly. "You called me unreliable," I said, holding up the folder, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. "You said Lily's undisciplined, that I'm a failure as a mother. But you know what, I've raised her alone through every late bill and long night, and she's stronger than you'll ever be." Lily's hand squeezed mine, and I felt her pride like a spark igniting my own. Greg stepped forward, his face red. "You're making a fool of yourself, Rachel," he snapped, his voice loud enough to draw gasps. "This is a family matter. Stop airing dirty laundry." His words were meant to shame me, to push me back into the quiet corner I'd always occupied. But I wasn't that Rachel anymore. I met his eyes, my gaze unflinching. "No, Greg. You don't get to tell me what I can say. Not after you laughed about me being clueless." The crowd's murmurs turned to stunned silence, and I felt a shift, like the air itself was holding its breath. Clara moved closer, her weathered hand resting on my arm. "I've known you since you were a girl, Rachel," she said, loud enough for others to hear. "You've always been the heart of this family. They're wrong to do this." Her words were a balm, softening the raw edges of my pain, and I saw nods from a few neighbors, their support a quiet rebellion against my family's deceit. Ethan appeared at the edge of the stage, his face conflicted, his usual charm gone. "Rachel, please," he said, his voice low, almost desperate. "Let's figure this out later." I looked at him, the brother I'd trusted, and saw his complicity in his slumped shoulders. "You knew Ethan?" I said, my voice soft but unyielding. "You let this happen." He flinched, and for the first time I didn't care about sparing his feelings. I lowered the microphone, my chest heaving, the folder still clutched in my hand. The crowd's eyes were on me, but I felt a strange calm, like I'd finally claimed the space I'd been denied. I turned to Lily, her face streaked with tears but fierce with loyalty. "Let's go," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. She nodded, and we stepped off the stage, the grass cool under my feet. I didn't look back at Amanda, Diane, or Dad. I didn't need their approval anymore. As we walked toward the car, the night air crisp against my skin, I felt the weight of my silence lift, replaced by a quiet, unshakable strength. The car's engine hummed softly as I drove away from my parents' house, the party's lights fading in the rearview mirror. Lily sat beside me, her hands folded tightly in her lap, her silence heavy but comforting. My hands gripped the steering wheel, still trembling from the weight of what I'd done, calling out my family in front of everyone, holding up that folder like a flag of truth. The night air streamed through the cracked window, cool against my flushed skin, but it couldn't soothe the storm inside me. Back at our apartment, the quiet was jarring after the chaos. I tucked Lily into bed, her eyes heavy but searching mine. "You were brave, Mom," she whispered, clutching her stuffed rabbit. I kissed her forehead, my throat tight. "So were you," I said, but as I closed her door, the weight of the night settled in. I sank onto the couch, the folder still in my bag, its presence like a ghost I couldn't shake. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from Diane. Her voice was strained, carefully measured. "Rachel, we need to talk. What you did was unfair. Call us. Unfair." The words stung, twisting the knife of her betrayal. I deleted the message, my fingers shaking. I wasn't ready to hear her excuses, not after she'd stood by while Amanda painted me as worthless. But the silence that followed was worse. No calls from Amanda. No texts from Ethan. It was as if I'd become invisible to them overnight. By afternoon, whispers from the neighborhood started trickling in. Clara stopped by with a tin of homemade cookies, her eyes soft with concern. "People are talking," she said, setting the tin on my kitchen counter. "Some think you were right to speak up. Others, well, they're siding with your parents." She hesitated, then added, "Amanda's been telling folks you overreacted, that you're trying to tear the family apart." My stomach churned. Amanda was spinning her story, painting me as the villain to save her own skin. I forced a smile, thanking Clara, but her words lingered as I walked her to the door. The idea that my sister was out there reshaping the truth made my chest ache. I'd expected anger, maybe a confrontation, but this calculated smear felt colder, more deliberate. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the cookies, their sweetness mocking my bitterness. Had I been too rash? Had I burned bridges I couldn't rebuild? The doubt crept in, but Lily's face, her fierce loyalty, pushed it back. I'd done this for us. Later, I checked my email, hoping for distraction, and found a message from Sarah, my coworker at the school. "Heard what happened," she wrote. "You're stronger than you know. We're here for you." Her words were a lifeline, a reminder that I wasn't as alone as I felt. I replied thanking her, but my fingers hovered over the keyboard, unsure how to explain the hollow space where my family used to be. The phone rang again that evening, my parents' number flashing on the screen. I let it go to voicemail, my heart pounding. Dad's voice came through this time, slow and heavy. "Rachel, we didn't mean for it to go this way. Let's meet. We can explain." Explain what? That they thought. I was better off with nothing. I deleted it, my hands clammy. Their half-hearted apologies felt like salt in a wound, too little too late. I stood pacing the small living room, the carpet worn under my feet. The folder sat on the coffee table, a silent challenge. I needed to understand my rights to see if I could fight the sale, but the thought of facing my family in a legal battle made my stomach twist. Clara's visit, Sarah's email. They were glimmers of support, but the silence from Amanda and Ethan, the rumors swirling, left me raw. I'd spoken my truth, but now I was standing in its aftermath alone, with the pieces of my family scattered around me and no way to put them back together. The apartment felt smaller as the days blurred together, each one heavy with the echo of my own voice from that night. I'd stood up, spoken my truth, but now the world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for me to break. Lily went to school, her smile forced but brave, and I tried to match her courage, brewing coffee, checking emails, pretending normalcy. But every quiet moment brought the sting of Amanda's rumors, my parents' voicemails, the folder still untouched on the table. By midweek, a text came from Mia, a lawyer friend from college. "Heard about the drama," she wrote. "If that sale's fishy, you might have a case. Want to talk?" Her words were practical, sharp, but they stirred a flicker of hope I wasn't ready to trust. I thanked her, promising to call, but the idea of fighting my family in court felt like stepping into a storm I'd barely survived. I needed time, but time was slipping. At work, Sarah pulled me aside in the break room, her eyes soft but searching. "You're not yourself," she said, handing me a mug of tea. "Talk to me." I wanted to shrug it off, to say I was fine, but her kindness cracked something open. I told her about the letter, Amanda's lies, the way Ethan's silence cut deeper than words. She listened, her hand on mine, and when I finished, she said, "You don't have to carry this alone." Her words were simple, but they landed like a lifeline, pulling me from the edge. That evening, I walked to the mailbox, the neighborhood quiet under a gray sky. A letter waited inside my name, scrawled in Dad's familiar handwriting. My heart stuttered, but I tore it open standing there on the sidewalk. It was short, his words careful, "You're stronger than I ever was." "I'm sorry." No explanation, no defense, just that. I folded it, my fingers numb, and slipped it into my pocket. His apology felt like a pebble in an ocean of hurt too small to bridge the gap he'd let grow. Back inside, I found Lily at the kitchen table sketching a house not our old family home, but something new with bright windows and a garden. "This is us," she said, pointing to two stick figures holding hands. Her hope was a quiet fire, and I hugged her, my eyes burning. But as I tucked her in later, the weight returned. I sat alone, the letter in my hand, Mia's text unanswered. Sarah's support, Clara's cookies, Lily's drawing, they were anchors, but my family's absence was a void. The next day, I overheard a coworker whispering about the party, her words clipped. "Rachel caused a scene, didn't she?" I froze my coffee cup halfway to my lips as another voice murmured agreement. Amanda's narrative was spreading, twisting my truth into gossip. I wanted to speak to set it right, but my voice stayed locked inside. I left work early, the sky heavy with clouds, and drove aimlessly, the letter still in my pocket, its weight a reminder of what I'd lost. At a stoplight, I saw a family crossing the street, their laughter soft through my open window. They were strangers, but their ease twisted something in me. My family had been that once or so, I'd thought. Now Amanda's silence, Ethan's avoidance, my parents' hollow apologies, they were all I had left of them. I'd fought to be seen, but the cost was this, a quiet, aching rift, and a truth that felt too heavy to carry alone. Saturday morning brought a quiet I hadn't felt in weeks. The apartment was still sunlight filtering through the blinds, casting soft stripes across the hardwood floor. Lily was sprawled on the couch reading a book, her hair a messy bun, and I stood at the kitchen counter stirring cream into my coffee, watching her. The chaos of the party, the folder, Amanda's letter, they felt distant now, like a storm that had passed but left the air clearer. I wasn't healed, not yet, but I was breathing easier. I grabbed my keys and called to Lily. "Let's get out of here for a bit." She looked up curious and tossed her book aside. We drove to the park a few blocks away, where the grass was damp from morning dew, and the swings creaked softly in the breeze. It wasn't much, just a small green space with a pond and a few benches, but it felt like a refuge. Lily ran to the swings, her laughter bright, and I followed, my sneakers sinking into the soft earth. We sat on a bench by the pond, the water rippling under the weight of a passing duck. "You ever think about what you want to be when you grow up?" I asked, my voice light but genuine. Lily tilted her head, her eyes narrowing like she was weighing the question. "Maybe a writer," she said. "Or a vet. Something where I can help people or animals." Her dreams were so big, so untainted, and I envied that clarity. "You'd be great at either," I said, meaning it, my heart swelling with her quiet ambition. She leaned against me, her shoulder warm against mine, and we sat in silence, watching the ducks glide. I thought about my own dreams, the ones I'd buried under years of making ends meet. I'd wanted to be a teacher to shape minds, but life had steered me to counseling, to fixing what was broken in others. Now, after the party, I wondered if I'd been trying to fix my family all along, patching cracks that were never mine to mend. A jogger passed, her ponytail bouncing, and I remembered mornings like this with my mom years ago, when we'd walk to the bakery for donuts, just the two of us. She'd talk about her garden, her voice soft, and I'd felt so close to her then. That Diane seemed like a stranger now, replaced by the woman who'd let Amanda's lies stand. I didn't hate her, not anymore, but the ache of her choices lingered, a bruise I was learning to live with. Lily nudged me, pointing to a squirrel darting up a tree. "Look how fast he is," she said, grinning. I laughed, the sound surprising me, and realized how rare it had been lately. This moment, her smile, the park's calm, the weight of the coffee mug I'd carried from home, it was enough. I wasn't the Rachel who'd walked into that party naive and trusting. I was someone new. Someone who could sit here, feel the breeze, and not need my family's approval to keep going. I pulled my phone from my pocket, the screen lighting up with a text from Ethan. "Can we talk soon?" My thumb hovered the words, stirring a pang. He'd been part of the silence, the betrayal, but this felt like a crack in his armor. I didn't reply, not yet. I wasn't ready to let him back in, but the message stayed with me, a thread I might pull later. For now, I tucked the phone away, my focus on Lily, on this park, on the quiet strength growing inside me. The park's quiet wrapped around us, the pond's ripples catching the late morning light. Lily swung her legs beside me, her sneakers brushing the gravel, and I felt the weight of the past week settle into something softer, like a stone smoothed by a river. I reached into my pocket, pulling out a small woven bracelet Lily had made last summer, its colors faded but still bright to me. She'd given it to me after a tough day, her small hands proud. I'd stopped wearing it, afraid of losing it, but now I slipped it onto my wrist, the thread soft against my skin. Clara appeared on the path, her cardigan loose around her shoulders, a thermos in hand. "Mind if I join you?" she asked, her voice warm. I nodded, scooting over, and she sat pouring tea into a spare cup she'd brought. "This place always calms me," she said, her eyes on the water. "Your mom used to love it here, you know. She'd sit by this pond when things got heavy." Her words stirred a memory I hadn't touched in years, Mom's face, younger, softer, staring at this same water. I'd forgotten those moments, buried them under the hurt of her recent choices. She never told me why, I said, my voice low. Clara sipped her tea, her gaze distant. "Your parents had their struggles, money, mostly in pride. They leaned on Amanda because she was loud, demanding. You were quieter, Rachel, but stronger. They didn't see it then." Her words landed gently, not excusing them, but offering a lens I hadn't considered. I twirled the bracelet, its knots grounding me. I wanted to be enough for them, I admitted, the confession slipping out. Clara's hand found mine, her skin papery but warm. "You were. They just couldn't carry their own weight." Her honesty was a gift, not sugar-coated, but kind. I nodded, my throat tight, the anger I'd carried dulling into something closer to understanding. Lily ran to the pond's edge, tossing pebbles, each splash a small ripple. I watched her, my heart steady. She was my anchor, not the house, not my parents' approval. Clara followed my gaze. "That girl's got your fire," she said, smiling. I laughed softly, the sound mingling with the breeze. "She's got more than me," I said, and meant it. Lily's resilience was teaching me, showing me how to bend without breaking. I thought of Ethan's text, still unanswered, and the legal fight Mia had hinted at. Part of me wanted justice, to claim what was mine, but another part, the one sitting here, bracelet on my wrist, Clara's tea warming my hands, wanted peace more. Forgiveness wasn't about erasing the hurt. It was about choosing not to carry it forever. I wasn't there yet, but I could see the path, faint but real, stretching ahead. Clara stood brushing her skirt. "You'll find your way," she said, her eyes crinkling. She left the thermos, a quiet gesture, and walked off, her figure small against the trees. I stayed, Lily's laughter echoing the bracelet, a steady pulse on my wrist. The pond gleamed, its surface calm, and I let out a slow breath, feeling the world settle around me. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't running from the past or fighting for the future. I was just here, whole in this moment, ready for whatever came next. Months have passed since the night I stood on that stage, the folder in my hand, my voice breaking the silence of my family's lies. The apartment feels different now, not bigger but lighter, like we've carved out a space that's truly ours. Lily's laughter fills the mornings, her school projects scattered across the dining table, science posters, half-written poems. I watch her from the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner, the rhythm of the knife steady grounding. I'm not the same Rachel who walked into that party, and I'm learning to like this new me. I followed Mia's advice and met with a lawyer. It wasn't easy, sifting through documents recounting the betrayal, but we secured a fair share of the house's sale, enough to ease the pressure of bills, to give Lily a cushion for the future. The money's in a savings account, untouched for now. It's not about the dollars. It's about knowing I fought for what was mine, that I didn't let their choices define me. My parents and I talk sometimes, short calls that stay on the surface, weather. Lily's grades, nothing heavy. There's a distance, not cold but careful, like we're all learning new steps to an old dance. Amanda's gone quiet, her number absent from my phone. I heard she's moved to a new city chasing a promotion, her life still polished on the outside. I don't wish her ill, but I don't miss her shadow. Ethan's different. He's reached out small gestures like a coffee invite I haven't accepted yet. I'm not ready, but I haven't closed the door. Work's become a haven. Sarah and the other counselors have pulled me into their circle, sharing lunches, swapping stories about tough days. Last week, Sarah dragged me to a pottery class after school, both of us laughing as our lopsided bowls collapsed. It was silly, but it felt like freedom, like I could be messy and still be enough. I've started journaling too late at night when Lily's asleep, scribbling thoughts I used to keep locked inside. It's not much, but each word feels like a step toward clarity. The neighborhood's changed too. Clara's become a regular at our place, dropping off recipes or gossip about the street. Other neighbors, ones who were at the party, nod to me now, their smiles warmer, like they see me differently. I don't know if they believe my side or just respect that I spoke up, but it's enough. I'm not the outcast I feared I'd be. I'm just Rachel, the mom who loves her kid, who keeps going, who's learning to stand tall. Lily's taken up painting her canvases bright with colors I didn't know she saw in the world. She hung one in the living room, a swirl of blues and yellows, like a sky breaking open after rain. I catch myself staring at it when the apartment's quiet, letting its hope sink into me. I've started running in the mornings, just a mile or two, the pavement solid under my feet. It's not about fitness. It's about feeling my own strength, knowing I can keep moving forward one step at a time. Tonight I'm sitting on the couch, a cup of tea cooling beside me, the window open to let in the autumn air. Lily's asleep, her door cracked, the soft glow of her nightlight spilling out. The world feels still, not perfect, but whole in a way I didn't think possible. I've lost pieces of my old life, but I found others, stronger ones, truer ones. I close my eyes, the tea's warmth in my hands, and let out a slow breath, feeling the past settle behind me. The tea in my hands has gone cold, but I don't mind. The night hums softly outside, crickets blending with the faint buzz of a street lamp. I set the mug down and lean back, my fingers brushing the edge of a photo album tucked under the coffee table. It's new one I started after the party, filling it with moments Lily and I have claimed for ourselves. Her first painting, our park walks, a blurry selfie from Sarah's pottery class. Each page is a quiet rebellion against the family I thought defined me. I think about the woman I was before that night, always chasing approval, smoothing over cracks in relationships that weren't mine to fix. I'd bend, shrink, swallow my hurt to keep the peace. But standing on that stage, speaking my truth, changed something fundamental. It wasn't about winning or proving them wrong. It was about choosing myself, about seeing my worth through Lily's eyes, through Sarah's kindness, through Clara's steady presence. That choice, hard as it was, set me free. My parents' house is sold now, the money split, the chapter closed. I don't drive by it anymore, don't need to. The memories I carry aren't tied to those walls, they're in Lily's laugh, in the way she trusts me to keep us steady. Ethan and I met for coffee last week, our first real talk. He apologized haltingly, and I listened, not forgiving yet, but open. It's a start, not a fix, and I'm okay with that. Some bridges rebuild slowly, others stay down. I've learned something these past months, something I wish I'd known sooner. Family isn't just the people you're born to, it's the ones who see you, who stay when the truth gets messy. It's Sarah bringing soup when I'm sick, Clara sharing stories over tea, Lily's hand in mine. But more than that, it's you, the you that fights to stand up, to speak, to keep going, even when the world feels against you. That's the root of it all, the strength that carries you through. I'm still learning to trust that strength, to let go of the need to be everyone's anchor. I'm not perfect at it. Some days I doubt myself, wonder if I could have handled things differently. But then I look at Lily, at the life we're building, and I know I'm on the right path. It's not about erasing the hurt. It's about growing through it, letting it shape you into someone who can stand taller, love deeper, live truer. I'd love to hear from you. What's a moment that made you choose yourself even when it was hard? Share it in the comments. Your story might light someone else's way. If this resonated, Please hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support means the world to me. Thank you for being here, for listening, for carrying your own light. Here's to healing, to growing, to finding our way one step at a time.